I just got finished doing a talk at a school near me, high school, and it's actually a high school that I used to teach at. And this high school had a shooting maybe a couple of months ago, and so they brought some gentlemen in, mostly black guys, to talk to some of the students because the school has kids that generally come from the downtown Newport News area, mostly black kids. And so they wanted us to come in and to talk to the students. And I had an idea and I had a thought after the conversation where I said, this is what we need to be teaching our students. Here it is. So when I was having this conversation, of course, we had a bunch of great guys there. We had some guys that did some jail time and got out of jail time and now are entrepreneurs. We had another guy who worked at a hospital. We had an educator there. We had all shades of the community there, black males, because we were talking to young black males. And towards the end of the conversation, probably the last 20 minutes, these young men, all they wanted to talk about was real estate. Why? Because they were interested in making money. And you would say, well, why were these young black males just interested in making money? Well, if you live in this downtown area or you live in any impoverished area, typically there is limited resources. And I'm talking about limited vegetables, limited jobs. You don't have access to, when you live in the suburbs and you have just all these different dance school and Walmarts and farmers markets, all these different resources. There are just so limited resources in these areas. And one of the guys made a good point. He said limited resources bring tension and resentment because you have all these people living in this one area, yet there's not enough resources to go around. Where if you live in the suburbs or you live in middle class or upper middle class, typically you have acreage, you have fewer people living on a lot more land, and so there's enough resources to go around. And as we were talking, I said, these right here are the 4 things that every student graduating high school should know. Number 1, real estate. Duh. You thought a real estate agent was not going to talk about real estate? I want you to think about it like this. When the explorers from Europe landed in America, what did they want? They wanted land. What did they take? They took the land. The land was so important. The land was the gold. The land was the money. The land was the resources. And the more land that was taken, the more enriched they become. The key thing is, in this country and really just around the world, there's no more dirt being built. All right? This is all the land that there is. The more homes that are built, then the more valuable land becomes because there's just not enough of it. I don't think they really ever had a concept. I know I really didn't even really have a concept until my 30s maybe of just how precious land is. And so when students get out of school, they need to know the importance of land. Many of them don't even want to buy a house. They want to rent or they want to, whatever, because they don't understand just how valuable land is. They don't understand how valuable homes are, what we call improvements. Your house is not, when you buy a house, you're buying the land plus the improvements, and the improvements are the house. They don't understand the appreciation of homes and how, unlike any other investment, homes appreciate at a consistent rate year over year than any other investment you can put your money in. When it comes to real estate, land, and homes, I feel like coming out of high school, that is one thing they definitely need to know. The second thing that they need to understand is money. Now, I know in school they teach personal finance, but many times in school, we're taught theories and concepts that when you get out of school or even while you're in school, it's hard to put them together. It's hard to take the concept that school teaches and apply it to real life. But we need to talk about money, we need to talk about taxes, we need to talk about savings, and we need to talk about investments. And to be honest, we need to bring in people into our schools that are professionals in this area that can really speak to this area. I'm not saying that we don't, but I think we can give a better picture. I always love the idea, I forget what they're called. There would be these school events to where you're given a certain amount of like fake money And there would be like utilities and luxury items and homes and so on and so forth. And the students, for this event, for this school event, would have to go around and purchase different things. And based on their purchases, there were consequences towards the end. I love that idea because many of our students understand concepts experientially, visually, tactically by touching them. Lecturing and doing worksheets doesn't make that connection, but they need to understand money. One of the things I was talking to the students about was it's not really about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. And when you talk about Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, these guys are not paying any taxes legally. We need to help our kids understand how that works, because if these big companies can do it, then we can do it as well. They also don't understand compound interest or savings or investments. I believe that Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant should be taught in every school in America, where it talks about the employed, the self-employed, the business, and the investor. So we got to do better when it comes to money. And that leads to number 3, entrepreneurship. The amazing thing is the greatest innovation all done by entrepreneurs. They're not done by the government. As a matter of fact, government thinking is the opposite of entrepreneurial thinking. I worked a government job, and it's funny, I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and I actually got in trouble at my job because part of my write-up, right, I had a staff, and part of my staff write-up concerning their boss was that he's too entrepreneurial. That was what a government job gave me. As an entrepreneur, I'm actually rewarded for my creativity. I'm rewarded for my out-of-the-box thinking. I'm rewarded for my innovation. Lastly, and I believe the greatest need is networking. Our kids are not good with dealing with other kids, particularly kids who don't look and talk and sound like them. And then they get into the job world, and that's all that's there. When you go work at a job, you ain't working at a job with a whole bunch of your friends. You're working at a job of your peers. One of the things about networking is that you're looking for people that have the same goal, not the same personality. So many of our students are so concerned about connecting with peers of the same personality that they toss away and ignore those that are actually on the same goal path that they are. I told these kids at the talk, I said, back in the day, I would reject people if they had a different personality than I did or didn't believe in some of the things that I did when I was younger. Now, I have a goal, and I look for those that have the same goal, and many times they have a different personality, but we click because we have the same goal in mind, and that's networking. And so I think our kids need that desperately today. All right, that's my spiel. That's my soapbox. Sean Slaughter for mayor. Not. But anyway, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you karate chop that bell. Motivators, I love you guys. This is the House of Motivation, the place where inspiration lives. Peace.